Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners Special Call Meeting Work Session for February 24, 2020. And we have a number of presenters today, so without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Kim Menifee to the dais to present an annual update regarding the Cumberland Community Improvement District.
Commissioners, it's really a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. As the Executive Director for the Cumberland CID, I've been with the Cumberland CID now almost a year, and it has been a real privilege, and it's wonderful to be here today with you, not only to share an update, but more importantly, to really thank you all for your support. But because of you, we are able to accomplish what you're going to see reflected in this presentation. And without you, we wouldn't be able to achieve those goals. So thank you for the opportunity to update you today. As the oldest CID in Georgia, we're 32 years old. We're very proud of our accomplishments. You can see here that we've constructed or leveraged now over 65 projects since 1988, which is incredibly impressive. And we did that through partnership with you primarily, and through that partnership, it allowed us to work with other state agencies, GDOT, ARC, CERTA, as well as our elected officials to leverage and really build the Cumberland Market into one of the most competitive commercial markets within the Southeast. By 2024, CID businesses will have contributed over $180 million into the Cumberland area to make it grow. Our goals have expanded over the years. We focus our work around access, connectivity, and character. And when we look at the projects that we support, creating beautiful environments, not only improving transportation in the area, but also pedestrian, bike, and also multi-user trails within the district. We're the only CID that's connected to the National Park Service. We have 2 units within the Cumberland CID, and we have a very successful partnership with the National Park Service. Also, it's really important to our board that we continue to work towards successful transportation and transit solutions. We're engaged with GDOT on the I-285 express lane system that is in design currently. We're also partnering with the 7 cities across the top end in really looking at transit solutions for the area. Working with you all, we want to be able to partner by being engaged in this transit study. We think it'll be very beneficial to the area, and we're looking to look and see what kinds of solutions will work alongside of the Express Lane project. So I wanted to touch on our successes in 2019. I think all of you would agree a huge win for our county was completing the funding for the Akers Mill ramp. With your support, we were able to secure the final $5 million infra grant. This $44 million project is now in design. We will go to construction in fiscal year 21 and be able to open the new ramp in 23. Which is really exciting because I think we'll all agree that the Express Lane project, the I-75 Northwest system, is one of the most successful infrastructure projects in Georgia's history. And this ramp will allow direct, safe access for those who are entering into the Cumberland district, which really equates to over 100,000 commuters each day. So we're really excited to be able to partner with you to be able to bring this ramp forward. In July, we opened a 1-mile extension of the Bob Callan Trail. Mr. Chairman, we were so pleased to have you with us that day to help us open this trail. It's the 3rd mile in a 4-mile trail that we'll actually complete in the next year or so, that last mile. And it spans 3 miles today. And what's more exciting is that it connects into a 60-mile network of completed or planned trails all around Cobb County. So by all of us working together to enhance our trail district, it really benefits everyone throughout the county. So now we are actually in design on that 4th mile, And this project will connect to Cobb County's Terrell Mill Windy Hill Trail project. This slide is a rendering of the trailhead that we have planned at Windy Hill. This will be very complementary to the trail system. This is just one view of how we'll be able to add additional assets to the trail network, and the community will have another gathering place at this trailhead on Windy Hill as part of the Bob Callan leading into the Windy Hill Terrell Mill project. Our bike share program, we celebrated 1 year. It was our first year that we completed in August. We were very pleased with the success that we had. We put in 3 new stations, so now we have a total of 6. We had users take over 6,000 trips. You can see here we had a large-scale female riderships. So we're actually excited about how this program will continue to grow in the coming year. But we were actually very pleased to be able to have now the bike ordinance that you all put forth, which allows us to expand beyond private property, which is where our initial stations were placed, to be able to utilize county right-of-way. So we thank you for that, because it will actually help us grow this program substantially.
How do you know the gender?
We know all kinds of things. When you sign into the algorithm, you really have to sign in, and you have to put in your demographics into when you sign on as a user into the system, into the network with Zagster.
You gotta tell me if you're a man or a woman.
I'm very pleased to share with you that the last time that we updated our economic impact data was 2017. Our board put forth a master plan, Blueprint Cumberland 3.0, and we updated our data at that time. But it was prior to SunTrust Park and the Battery Atlanta opening, and so we had not actually looked at our economic impact since then. So we completed a study and actually shared the results at the end of 2019. And we were absolutely excited about the results. What you see here is that the Cumberland CID has a $15 billion annual impact on Cobb County and a $20 billion annual impact on Georgia, which we knew how the district was growing, but we were absolutely so pleased with these numbers. In addition to that, we have an estimated 4,000 businesses now within the 6.5 square mile district, and with 69,000 jobs. Most of those jobs are in the high-wage professional sector. So we see our workforce growing. In addition to that, we are now home to 29,000 residents. When we looked at this data like in 2017, it was around 17,000. So you can see how much the district has grown in a very short period of time. In addition to that, 68% are millennials or Gen Xers who are living within the Cumberland market. There was a time that we were really hoping that we could grow a millennial workforce, one that would want to live in our district, and we're seeing the results of that through the growth today. We also generate $68 million in tax revenue for Cobb County schools and $61 million to Cobb County. This slide really represents what we're looking at is the 3 waves of developments really since this market started to grow. The first wave, which really demonstrates the need for the CID back in the 1980s. And then you can see we went through a second wave, and now we're in the 3rd wave of development. We have 4.5 million square feet of commercial development, office development that's either under construction or planned within the district between 19 and 2022. So you can see just a substantial increase in how we actually have had the 3 waves of development and where this district will continue to grow. So I wanted to share a little bit about where we're headed now in 2020. Our board will be meeting actually this week. We have a board retreat on Thursday to really start talking about how we update our master plan. Having put forth the Cumberland 3.0 plan in 17, now we want to update it through 2024 and look at the projects that we feel like can make the greatest impact and difference in the district. One project that we are working on the funding for today is called the Cumberland Loop. And this is a 3-mile multi-user trail that we're designing around the core of the Cumberland district. And what it will do is it will link the 4 quadrants around the district and enhance not only from a transportation mode, but enhance pedestrian, cyclist, and offer greater mobility within the district, really linking our employment, our cultural, as well as our entertainment destinations. Another project, the Cobb Parkway Pedestrian Bridge, we're partnering with the city of Smyrna as well as the Braves to build an additional pedestrian bridge across Cobb Parkway. When we looked and we worked with, in fact, with county staff, and we looked at the need from a safety perspective, we really feel like this pedestrian bridge will continue to enhance the experience, not only during ball games, but also on a year-round basis to add that additional access over Cobb Parkway. We will continue to invest in trails. I spoke about the Bob Callan Trail, and we'll continue to identify new opportunities. We're in discussions and have plans underway with the National Park Service to renovate the Pesos Mill Palisades Park unit that's at the base of Cobb Parkway that really serves as a gateway into the Cumberland Improvement District. And we're working with them now to identify ways to fund a total renovation of that park. It was built in the 1970s. It's actually one of the most used pieces of the national park. And they feel that it would be a tremendous enhancement for our community, and we do as well, to be able to renovate that park from the ground up. So we're working on that currently. Our board just approved additional investment in our bike share program. I mentioned earlier that we have 6 stations. We're opening one very soon on Galleria property, but then also we have 5 more planned within 2020. But even more exciting is we're working on a regional bike share program, not only with our partners with Cobb County, but also with the Town Center CID, KSU, City of Smyrna, all the existing bike share programs, as we're looking at and we're evaluating and have a plan to connect our bike shares so that users and riders can ride from Kennesaw State all the way down to the river, leave their bike in another district from where they came. So we're very excited about the opportunity that will present for the community overall. So definitely more to come, but we will continue to enhance our assets in the coming year through partnership with you. So what I'd like to do is just take a moment to thank you truly for your effort. Mr. Chairman, you've been incredibly helpful and supportive of our efforts. I also want to particularly recognize Commissioner Ott. Commissioner Ott, I know you're retiring at the end of this year, but we can't thank you enough for the support that you've provided us over the years. It's really been substantial, and we really greatly appreciate you. I also want to speak to our county manager, Rob Hosack. He has been amazing working with he and his team. Hate to see him retiring, but we know going forward we'll have great support, as well as Erica Parrish and the Cobb DOT team in particular. So, and just many, many departments within. We greatly appreciate your support. So thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Kim, thank you. Any questions from the board members? Well, flee while you can.
All right. Terrific. Thank you so much.
Good having you, Kim. Thank you for coming. Commissioner Ott, I believe you have the next
Thank you,
subject.
Mr. Chairman. You all have a copy of the PowerPoint. I put them in at your seats. So this is just the annual year review of the previous years, how the year went at the Truist Park and the Battery. Next slide. And if you have not been out there, that sign is now up. It is purple. It is very purple. All right, so just kind of a review of, I mean, you all have seen this slide before. This was the original projections. The overall investment was going to be $372 million by the Braves and $300 million from the county. And you see the percentages. The actual cost of the stadium was a little bit higher, and all those additional costs were picked up by the Braves. Next slide. And this just kind of goes over in 2013 what the projections were as to where the money was going to come from. We've already talked about the 14 million and the 10 million, which were one-time contributions. And then the local annual contributions, what they were anticipated to be, for a total of 17.9 million. And then in 2015, those were revised. All the numbers, as you can see, well, some of them went up, but the big one that went down was the reallocation of existing revenue. And that mainly at that time was due to the favorable bond interest rates that the county received on the bond. Next slide. Okay, so some of the revenue highlights from last year. Property values, and we talked about this each year that we've done this, that the values on the property as they went from construction status to operational, that the values would go up. But so far, the property values have risen at the Battery from $5 million in 2014 to $552 million in 2019. And all of that was a result of the Braves development. Excuse me. Revenues have also reached all-time new highs in 2019, and we're going to go over each one of those. All right, so this just is kind of a recap of the revenue increases. Just kind of as a reminder, Cumberland Special Service District number 1 is a $3 per night per hotel room. You can see the 2015 estimates for each one of these and then what the dollar values have been over the years. Cumberland Special Service District number 2 is that 2.74 mils property tax on the commercial properties in the Special Service District, and then rental car tax and hotel motel tax. Everybody's familiar with. Not all of the Special Service District number 1 money is used for stadium debt. And as you're looking at this slide, if you look at the total, you'll see that it says $3,619,277. Those numbers are actually from the previous year because of how the county budgeting works and the money is allocated. But the actual allocations, the 1.6 million for debt, 600,000 for police, and the 619,277 to Cobb Travel and Tourism, and then the 800 for the circulator was how the money was, that money was allocated. Next slide. These are tax and fee types, and these are all from the Braves and the Battery. You can see the sales and use tax, and then the liquor by the drink, the occupancy, which is the hotel motel, and then the tourism fees, and then the portions of those tax. So if you look at the sales and use tax, that's the full 6%. So the county's portion was a little over 4.5 million. The Board of Ed got 2.7 million, and you can all see those numbers there. Next slide. Okay, this slide shows basically the trend of the general fund property tax money that went towards the stadium debt. As you can see, it's gone down. The reason for the spike in 2017, that was the first full year of stadium debt. Now, the other thing to point out is that the 4.2 million, and we're going to talk a little bit about it here in the next couple slides, that includes the 800,000 for the circulator and the 600,000 that went to Cobb Travel and Tourism. So that number would be smaller if those numbers were not included in there. And as we've talked about before, the circulator is actually paid for by the $3 hotel fee. But when we sat down, Bill and I, we put it into that number right there. Next slide. So this right here is a breakdown of the government costs. So the debt service, as we talked earlier, is just a little over 22 million. The capital maintenance, which will go towards any capital maintenance that is done on the stadium, is a little over 1.2 million. You can see the cost of public safety and the pedestrian bridge, and then the insurance, for a total of 24,876,981. Contributions coming from the Braves, you have the lease payments of 6.1 million, and then the property taxes paid by the Braves on the Battery is a little over 1.8 million, and then the taxes that they pay as part of the Cumberland Special Service District is 541,000, for a total of 8.5 million coming from the Braves. And then you can see the money, the different property taxes, the hotel. Now the difference between the 2.2 million for the Special Service District and the 3.7 is basically the money from the circulator and Cobb Travel and Tourism. So you can see that there's a total of $16 million that comes in and is applied towards the debt, and that covers the debt. Next slide. These are additional revenues, contributions coming to both the county, the Board of Ed, and the state. For the county, directly from the Battery, You can see the fire district fund and the debt service funds combined. It's about 650, a little over 650,000. Business licenses just under 190,000, and then liquor by the drink is right around 600,000. And then we talked about the sales tax already. The SPLOST is 2.7, so about a little less than 4.2 million coming from the battery to the county tax revenue. For the Board of Education, this is directly from the battery also. You have property tax revenue of 4.1 million, and SPLOST is the 2.7, the same as the counties. So you got a little less than $7 million going to the Board of Education. And if you keep in mind, they do not have any expenses associated with this. So you can see the total going to the county and the Board of Ed. And then the state of Georgia gets just under 11.9 million. So a total of about $23 million. And that is just for the stadium and the battery. That does not include the halo effect or anything like that. This is just those two entities. Next slide. So some of the things that the Braves have done in the community is they hosted a prom for more than 100 special needs students. And we talked about this last year, they invested in the county STEM's curriculum and gave some teacher grants. They provided welcome folders. I'm not going to read all of these, but you can kind of see some of the stuff they've done here for the community. Next slide. All right, also some other things that they've done kind of more related to baseball. They had 176 teams played in the Cobb County for Braves Country Championships. They've the use of 6 parks, rental and maintenance fees, umpire fees, hotel nights, and then 140 teams from at least 50 miles outside of Cobb, and brought in about $176,000. Next slide. Okay, so some of the stuff that's coming, and you know, each year it's been kind of exciting because we talk about the numbers that we had from the previous year, and then we continue to be able to talk about stuff that's coming. Good Game, which is going to be opening very soon. Faux East and River Street Suites, they all actually just opened, and if you've been to Savannah when you go to ACCG and you've been to River Suites, it's the same place. The TK Tower, it's going to top out in early April. What's kind of really interesting about that, it is a 24/7 continuous pour, and if you go out and look at it, it's literally just this, looks like a box that continues to move up the concrete tower. And it's was set up so not to disturb the local residents. There's a lot of padding and insulation, but literally they're pouring 24/7. And the tower, I mean, pretty much like if I'm gone for a couple days on a trip, I can come back and it is a noticeable height difference. American Spirit Works Distillery and event space will be opening in late spring. A loft at the Battery, which is a hotel, will open in the early summer. Park Bench, which is a restaurant that's going to have dueling pianos. And it's going to be right there next to Gio's Chicken. That's going to open in June. Savi Provisions and Silver Spot Cinema will open in midsummer. Savi Provisions is similar to an REI. And Silver Spot Cinema, besides just, it's not just a movie theater, it also will have like Metropolitan Opera performances. You'll have the ability to eat there while you're watching the performances. This is all down in Block C, or with the part that's down by 41. And then there'll be some more tenants coming throughout the year. No, there's not going to be a Panda Express. I'm sorry. Yes. Next slide. All right. So that's pretty much the update. You know, and if there's any questions, I wanted to do these two together because when Kim and I talked about the fiscal impact of the Cumberland CID, obviously the stadium is part of it. So it's kind of like you got the big picture for the Cumberland area with Kim's presentation, and then we kind of narrowed down to just the Battery and the stadium.
All we need now is, we got the All-Star game next year.
Yes, we do.
All we need now is the 2020 World Series. And I believe the chairman made a campaign promise that we would have a World Series this year.
Call me on it.
You better talk to the Braves.
They're working on it. You know, they
Yeah.
had their first spring training game yesterday.
I'm ready.
And so they'll be ready. Opening day, by the way, is April 3rd. So get your tickets.
That's when I'm ready for the bullpen.
No, you only get to do a ceremonial first pitch, and that's it.
All right, well, I tried. We'll see. All right, well, thank you, Commissioner. Any questions from the board members? Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ott. And now the Six Flags Special Service District update, South Cobb Redevelopment Authority. And I believe that's Mr. Stoner.
Yeah, got it right here. Sure. The right button? Forward? Okay, got my instructions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is the annual update that we do as part of our IGA with the county as it with respect to the Six Flags Special Service District projects and the bonds that y'all have backed with the taxes out of that Special Service District. And so let me get started. Just a quick background for those who may not be aware, the SCRA, the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority, originally created in the sense in 1982 as the South Cobb Development Authority, was redefined by an act of the Georgia General Assembly, Senate Bill 266 in 2011 as the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority. And then, of course, our mission statement, the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority works to assure the long-term economic stability of South Cobb by promoting quality development, encouraging job creation, supporting public-private partnerships, and ensuring that the values of South Cobb are enhanced by creating a great place to live, work, play, and invest and do business. And by the way, that mission statement was worked with the County Commission at the time when this legislation was passed. As y'all are aware, Board of Directors, which obviously I'm one of them as the chair, is 7 members, 4 appointed by the Cobb BOC, 3 appointed by the local Cobb delegation, specifically those who have a piece of the jurisdictional area that you see up on the map. And then the terms of 4-year staggered. And just real quickly, we actually have one of the folks you recently appointed back in June, Edric Harris. He's here today, I believe. Oh, there he is. And we want to thank you for his appointment. He has been a great asset to the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority in the sense of his knowledge and understanding development. So we are very happy to have him on board. Thank you all again for that. Also, very quickly, just to let you know, Dan Byers, who is our broker, I think he does stuff with the county too, if I'm not mistaken, works with us in the sense of the properties that we own and we have purchased over the years. Moving on, here we go. Just want to give a quick list of projects completed by the SCRA. Was first the creation of the Six Flags Special Service District that was done in 2014 and 2015 in conjunction with the County Commission. The next part of that was obviously the purpose of the Six Flags Special Service District was the bonds that were issued and the projects that we worked with y'all and agreed to take on. First one was obviously Magnolia Crossing Apartments acquisition and remediation. That was in 2015 and 2016. Also, the South Cobb Marketing and Branding Initiative Study, which actually took about 2.5 years. It was actually a study that was paid for. It was an RFP that y'all had issued, and you asked us to oversee that, working with the county. And so it was coming up with a marketing and branding concept for South Cobb. We'll see an example of some of that, what came out of that, a little bit here in one of the projects that we were asked to do as part of the IGA with the county. Obviously, the acquisition of 39 acres, the Yancey property, which was the adjoining the Magnolia Crossing property, that was occurred all throughout 2018. And also the I-20 Interchange Gateway beautification at Riverside Parkway and Six Flags Parkway installation. That was 2018 and 2019. Again, that was also one of the projects that we originally had agreed to under the IGA that we had with the county. So those are 5 projects that we've been working on really since 2014 and up till this past year. So let's talk about current projects and where we're at. So after the basically installation of the landscaping at both at Six Flags Parkway and Riverside Parkway, the county and the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority, y'all approved last year an IGA for us to basically manage and maintain the 2 landscaping areas, and that comes out of excess funds in the Special Service District, similar to what you've done in Special Service District 1, Cumberland Special Service District 1. But these are excess funds, and we work with the county in the sense of paying for that service. We did an RFP last year, which started in late March. Currently, the folks who won that is the Georgia Green landscaping firm, which is a Cobb-based firm, just so you know, something we tried to encourage using some Cobb County-based firms in the process. But they also came in at the lowest price. So both are a Cobb County firm, and they were the lowest price in that bid process. Just a comment on that very quickly. Obviously, that IGA is only good for a year, and we'll be looking for the authority to, the commission, along with our authority to continue that IGA unless, of course, the county wants to take over maintaining the landscaping, but of course, that's all up to y'all, but we're happy to continue in that process. Also, the marketing of the 50 acres Yancey and Magnolia Crossing property, now that we have 50 acres total, is starting to market that. And in fact, I'm going to ask Dan if you've got that marketing material, if you don't mind, if you could come here and hand it out to the commissioners. So you can kind of see what we're putting out there, and that Dan Byers and James Pitts, who's our other broker, is also providing. And this is also on our website. This has also been provided to several other partners that we work with, and I'll get to that here in a moment. A third project we're working on is the monument wayfinding signage pilot at I-20 interchange, Riverside Parkway and Six Flags Parkway. This is one of the continuing projects, the original IGA, and this actually also came out of the Slant Media that was part of the marketing and branding study that was done that we were asked to oversee. And finally, the most current one that we've just started recently is the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority Market Study for the Six Flags Special Service District. So I'll kind of go through each of these individually. The Gateway Landscaping Maintenance and Management at Riverside Parkway and at Six Flags Parkway. The locations, obviously, they're listed there, exit 47, exit 46A and B. We have our maintenance agreement, as I was referring to, the IGA between the SCRA and Cobb County to maintain the landscaping from excess funds of the Six Flags Special Service District, and agreement between the SCRA and GDOT to maintain those landscape improvements. Very quickly, it's about $54,000 a year is our current contract that will be ending at the end of March. On top of that, we have had some recent issues with erosion, as you can imagine, with all the rain that we've had. And so luckily, we still have funds left over in that budget as it relates to landscaping. And so we're looking at working with the landscape company to correct those issues and prevent that continuing erosion. Sometimes you don't discover that. And of course, with the amount of rain that we've had, obviously you can imagine we've had a few issues. So we're taking care of that as part of our responsibility overseeing the maintenance. And then, of course, the purpose of all this was setting a new standard of beautification for the area, creating an inviting environment, welcoming guests to the Six Flags over Georgia and visitors to the South Cobb communities. That was the purpose of it. And these are just the groundbreaking ceremony. Mr. Chairman, you were there along with Commissioner Cupid and other folks that we did back in late spring, early summer of 2018, which was finally finished in basically fall of 2018. This was an artistic rendering, and I would have to say that, you see artistic renderings, and sometimes what you actually do in the real world doesn't quite match. I will have to say that it definitely comes very close. We've actually been very impressed with how that looks, and of course, our intention is definitely to maintain that. And it has gotten a lot of comments. Folks that I know who either just passed through on their way through Cobb County in that part, or folks coming off have made comments about, who did the landscaping, what a great project, how it looks. It really has made an impression. I will tell you the folks over at the Fulton Industrial CID have commented on it since they've been doing theirs too. So obviously, I'm glad the fact that people noticed after all this effort that we did on this. And finally, the next part is the marketing of the 50 acres, the Yancey and Magnolia Crossing properties. Like I said, we control 50 acres now when we acquired both those properties. And we're coordinating marketing the property with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, with the Cobb County Economic Development, with Select Cobb, though I know we've changed that name, excuse me, and Georgia Power and Cobb Travel and Tourism. And specifically, we've had several meetings with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, myself, Dan Byers, James Pitts, and other members of the board, along with Pat Wilson, who is the Commissioner of Economic Development, who I know personally, and putting that out there and letting people know that we have 50 acres available there in South Cobb, specifically off there at Riverside Parkway. So we continue to do that, and that the offering memorandum that was just handed out is an example of what we're providing to people. That is actually on our website too, so you can go to it and click on it. So it isn't more than just something we hand to folks, it's something people have direct access to. So the next part is just a photo, of kind of showing you the two pieces of property. And you'll see this in our offering memorandum of exactly how we locate it. And of course, we even have a photo that comes out farther than that to give you an idea how close it is to downtown Atlanta, how close it is to the Atlanta airport, and obviously identifying the major attractions in the area there with the Six Flags over Georgia. So that's, again, just a visual of what we put in our marketing material. The next project that we're in the middle of and hopefully will be finally finished doing is the monument and wayfinding signage pilot at I-20 interchange in Riverside Parkway and Six Flags Parkway. As I said, the locations again are exit 47, exit 46, A and B. What is it? It's an installment of custom branded welcome and wayfinding signage. The logo, unique to South Cobb, this was developed from the Slant Media Marketing Study that I referenced earlier in the sense of this specific logo and this type of signage. We obviously did an RFP in the sense of who would manufacture and install the signs, Denise, or Denise, depending on how you want to pronounce them, who also did the Braves, also does Atlanta Beltline, actually won the contract. We had 6 firms. This was fall of 2018, competed for it. And we were fortunate enough that Denise came in as the lowest price, and luckily for us, they are next door in Douglasville, so very convenient, very local if we have any issues. Unfortunately, you're dealing with GDOT, and it takes time. And only a little over 2 weeks ago to get the final permit approval for the signage. This is definitely unique signage that GDOT normally would not allow or has not allowed in the past, but we were able to finally get that. And if everything goes according to plan, we hope to have these signs installed there in the Six Flags Special Service District. To give you an example, this is just an example of our wayfinding signage. And that kind of shows you the location of some of the location. Now, there's going to be a few other ones that are off the interstate. That's actually on Cobb County DOT, and we've been working with Cobb DOT to place those signs. To show you, they're actually pretty much in production, almost done. So those are examples of the signs. That's a thank you for visiting sign, South Cobb, which will be at the 2 interchanges as you leave, going down the entrance ramps to the interstate. We have a welcome to South Cobb, which unfortunately the photo they had, it was laying on its side, so we obviously didn't show that one. And then, of course, we have one form of wayfinding signage, which is more like a large pylon. And then the smaller signs too, those are mainly going to be located on Cobb DOT right away. And so that's, like I said, those are done. That photo was taken about 3 weeks ago. So we're ready to hopefully get those installed soon. Finally, the last thing we're in the middle of doing, which is the SCRA market study for the Six Flags Special Service District. This is just a visual map of actually the properties in the Special Service District, a little information on the back of that. But the reason for the study, and let me flip to that, is when we discovered trying to get information specific to the market down there, we're part of a larger sub-market, and it's very hard to get specific data as it relates to the Six Flags Special Service District. And we discovered that this last summer on some things that we were dealing with. And so the decision was made by the board to go out and engage a firm to do a detailed market study as it relates to what's going on in the real estate market down there and how that will impact us and our ability to redevelop. So basically, the reasons we issued an RFQ for a market study in September of 2019 says due to a lack of current market-based data specific to the Six Flags Special Service District, the SRA decided to issue that RFQ. The market study's purpose is setting the RFQ is to determine a development strategy based on an analysis of current market conditions to attract catalytic projects in the market segments of retail, entertainment, personal and professional services, and housing for redevelopment of the SCRA property itself and also in the Six Flags Special Service District. The other thing, the market study is also going to help us determine the need for additional incentives, either by the SCRA, possibly by Cobb County, or the state of Georgia to overcome, say, market barriers to new development. So that's another part of that. The SCRA selected and approved a contract with Bleakley Advisory Group. I think a lot of y'all are familiar with them. Again, they came in at the best price and experience in October of 2019, and the market study began in December of 2019 with the first meeting of the steering committee, which is really a stakeholders committee. So with the creation of the market study steering committee, the majority of the members on the committee either live, work, or operate a business in the Six Flags Special Service District. And the other thing we insisted on, which is not normally what you see in market studies, to be honest with you, is public participation. And so one is an online survey, which is currently available on the SCR website at southcobb.org. And public meetings. In fact, our first meeting is being held tonight. So after I'm done here today, I'll be headed down there to the Riverside Epicenter. It's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That'll be our first one, and we'll have another one that'll be determined by the steering committee when that's going to be located. And I want to say thank you to the Epicenter for us, allowing us to use their space. This, I think, is going to be a very good meeting tonight. Hopefully, folks will show up. We've advertised in both papers. We've asked different community organizations to get the word out, particularly the Ostel Community Task Force. And in spite of the weather, hopefully we'll have a good turnout tonight for participation. And this is not just going to be a one-way street where someone's doing a presentation. There'll be some background information that they've gathered so far on the market study in the sense of the market specifically. But it's going to be a lot of two-way because we want input from the citizens and folks in the community about what they're wanting, but also to understand the challenges that we have in that part of the county in the sense of getting the private sector and redevelopment coming in there. So the market study, hopefully, and the plan is to be completed by no later than May 2020. Now, at that point, the discussion among the board members has been that hopefully, once we have the market study done and have a better understanding of our challenges, we're going to use that to help design a RFP to issue on the 50 acres. And that'll eventually take some action, hopefully this summer, that we'll be able to issue that RFP for the 50 acres and hopefully start, get some folks applying and, competing, I should say, and bidding on the property from a redevelopment standpoint. But also, again, the market study will help us understand if there's a need for other types of incentives, either from us at the SCRA or possibly from the state or possibly from the county. And of course, that would be the discussion we'd have with the different organizations besides ourselves, if we see that's needed. So very quickly, this is a project budget breakdown. As you've seen, the original bond insurance costs, the bond interest dividend, we obviously earned about $25,000 over the years since we issued the bonds in 2015. The Magnolia redevelopment, the landscape improvement project, Factory Shoals project, that's the Yancey property, just so you know, with the address they have. The wayfinding signage project, and then what we have remaining funds for additional projects, and then our contingency. If you will notice, we are under budget on every one of these projects. That's not something you can say a lot of days when it comes to government, let's say. And so at this point, we currently, as of the end of January, we have $957,000, $508.64 currently in our account, in the bond account that we currently have. So I'm going to stop there. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any members of the board have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I mean, as we listen to it today following the CID presentation, I think if there's one thing worthy of noting is that the SCRA board is a volunteer board, in contrast to some of our other organizations that are fostering development. So with all the discussion about what's going on with the redevelopment authority, I understand that there's been a lot of dedicated people in the community and with staff helping to push things forward.
I think that Commissioner Cupid is, none of us get paid to come to those meetings every month, let alone me being here today doing the presentation, and let alone Edric Harris being here today also. But, we do it because we have a deep interest in this community. Obviously, a lot of you know I grew up in the area, both Smyrna and Mableton. And we do have help, to a degree from the county. We appreciate that. Jason Gaines usually attends all our meetings, and Marcellus Williams, who also helps us. So, again, we appreciate the help from the county on that. So, again, thank y'all and everything, and for recognizing that point.
Good.
So,
one question
Yes, ma'am.
regarding the consultant study that's outstanding. How does that work with the zoning that was done for the site, which anticipates a mixed-use zoning?
It's assuming that as, the zoning currently stands, which is the Planned Village Community, PVC, that currently the 50 acres has. And so we're taking that into account as in the sense of how, from a market standpoint, how we would then promote it and having that. I will say this, the fact that we control 50 acres, I can tell you this from talking to developers, and the fact that this zoning has been done, and as y'all are well aware, when someone, let's say, purchases the property and they'll come back to y'all, obviously, our assumption is they'll want that, keep that zoning, they would not want to change that zoning, because it gives you a lot of flexibility. From a development standpoint, for a lot of mixed use, housing, retail, office, all different types of mixed uses for that, is at that point, of course, y'all still will have to do a site development plan approval as the commissioners. I can tell you this much is, even though we haven't had anybody yet show up, and well, I'll tell this, we've had people come to us, but it's either just, we just want to do housing, or we want to do this and that. It's not been someone to come in and saying, hey, let's do it all in phases. Of course, I think we all understand you don't do all this at one time. So the point of that is, it has been made comment, both from the Georgia Department of Economic Development, I will say this, that they were very impressed that we had that zoning done, that they see that as a way that helps move things along faster, because time is money, as we all know when it comes to development issues. And the fact that the county stepped up and made that decision several years ago, for a period of time, to help us kind of market that property has come into play. And we've had comments from other organizations we work with. They said they wish other authorities who had property had done such a thing with their county commission or their local government and everything. So again, just wanted to point that fact out, that actually that's been a plus
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, we're taking that into effect.
Okay, good. And with that, the RFP process would be a formal process?
Yes.
There were some challenges before with people submitting, but
Yeah, we had some unsolicited,
given a clear
yeah,
direction.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, to your point, we had some unsolicited proposals that were given to us this past summer. In fact, Mr. Harris chaired a review committee along with L'Oreal Green and Ed Richardson to take a look at those proposals after they were given presentations to us. Just the decision was made that neither proposal was what we were hoping to do there, nor did we think it was catalytic enough. But at the same time, we both told both folks who did propose that when we issue the RFP, hopefully come, late spring, early summer, that's my goal, really,
Okay.
to
This
get
year.
there, is that they are more than welcome to apply again. And so, no one's being excluded or anything like that. They can come back again and apply based on, and it'll be very clear what we're asking, what we want, and so there won't be any confusion on anybody's part.
great. And then one last question. If you can
Okay.
talk about the timing of redevelopment, and I know you've been involved with other development authorities, that that's been questioned about how long the property has been available for sale and redevelopment. If you can just provide some perspective.
Well, yeah, very quickly. So a lot of folks here know that I served for 25 years as the vice chair of the Smyrna Downtown Development Authority. As I jokingly say in Smyrna, it's been a 30-year overnight success in the sense of all the things we've done. But as it goes to the issues that we did, so a perfect example was Belmont Hills. Now, we didn't own the property. That was owned by Jack Halpern, as y'all are probably well aware. But he was working with us redevelopment that property. And of course, it sat empty for close to almost, well, when he took down the buildings, it sat empty for almost 9 years. Now, we had a recession in that, and we also had the same problem concerning also at Jonquil. And also a piece of property that we bought when I was on the Smyrna Development Authority, which was the old Hickory Lakes apartment complex there back off Old Concord Road, 48 acres, matter of fact. And we bought that in 2010, and it sat there for close to, before development began, it was nearly 7 years from the time we purchased the property until we actually found someone ready to develop the property. So to kind of remind everyone, the property was purchased in October. Actually, I remember October 15th, 2015. I remember it well. And we then had the issues of folks eventually had to move out with their leases ending and other things. Also, we had to do demolition purposes because there was obviously a concern of asbestos in the building. We were very fortunate, thank God. This building was built after they had stopped allowing asbestos to be used in apartment buildings, so we saved us a lot of money, which allowed us to buy the adjoining property, to be very frank with you. But the point of that was that took a year. We didn't finish the demolition until 2016. Now, that was just on the 12.4 acres that was Magnolia Crossing. We didn't own the 39 acres yet, though we did work with the ANSYs as part of the rezoning. We didn't purchase property until September 4th, 2018. So in reality, the 50 acres we have not had until really a little over a year and a half ago at the most that we've actually controlled all 50 acres. And now with 50 acres, let me tell you, you get a lot more interest than with 12.4 acres. So I would say that, yeah, we want things to happen as fast as they can. Don't get us wrong. All of us want that to happen. That's why we serve on this board. But realistically, I think we've moved pretty quickly and pretty fast considering where we are and what we're doing. And hopefully, once we issue that RFP, we will start seeing a lot more interest in the property. So,
Thank you. I
Yeah.
won't be able to see you tonight, but
I
appreciate
understand.
you.
I'll
having
tell
the
them that
community
you
meeting.
obviously couldn't make it, but I'll let them know that obviously you're thinking about us
Yes.
in the rain. Thank you all very much.
Okay, I got a couple questions.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
On the developments, the unsolicited developments, do they match the zoning that was there at the property?
I'm sorry, say again?
The unsolicited proposals, they match the zonings that were already there at the property?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we made it very clear what the zoning is. It's in the offering memorandum too.
okay. The first market feasibility study that was done in 2014, you said you're gonna discuss the outcome of that study and then what you've done with it? I didn't
Well,
see
that
that.
was,
I
okay,
didn't see that in your presentation anywhere.
okay. That's a marketing and branding study that was done in 2014 that the county issued. Y'all issued the RFP, y'all paid for it. You asked us to kind of sense oversee it. That study is, obviously y'all's study. We took from that study, there was a whole thing about different marketing and branding, but that would require the county to actually to implement those type of things. We're not in a capability to do that in the rest of South Cobb because we only have money to do things within the Special Service District. We don't really have any money to do anything outside of the Special Service District. So that marketing and branding study was for the whole, basically South Cobb area, unincorporated South Cobb. We're trying to implement some of that, which is what the signage was one of the things that came out of that we decided to try to do down in the Six Flags area. So that's what came out of that marketing study. As to trying to implement the market study, obviously it requires money, which we do not have that money to do that outside of the Special Service District. And obviously we can't spend that money outside the Special Service District. So in a sense, no, nothing has really happened since then. And that's obviously prior to your service on the board, Mr. Chairman, in the sense of that study. So,
I'm just curious.
yeah, I'm being very, very upfront that
Yeah, sure.
we would love to work with the county and make that happen. I know Commissioner Cupid, and of course, that study's there, and any day we're ready to move, working with the county and trying to implement some of the things that came out of the recommendation of that study.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
I believe we're adjourned.